People made fun of Keanu Reeves. They said he looked like a bodyguard. They laughed at Mr. Bean, saying he looked silly in a suit that didn't fit. But when the big surprise was shown on the screen, everyone's mouths opened wide in shock. This story is not just about getting back at people. It's about two very different men, Keanu Reeves and Mr. Bean, who gave up everything to protect a big secret from long ago. Watch until the end, because some stories don't shine loudly, they echo quietly, like a whisper. Before we keep going, tell us where you're watching from. Write your city or country in the comments. The invitation didn't come with loud music or big lights. It was a cream-colored envelope with an old stamp made of wax. It looked like something from ancient Rome. Inside, there was one fancy card. It had black ink on a pretty white paper. The celesters looked fancy and perfect. You are invited to a special auction at the Musée d'Histoire Antique. Saturday evening. Wear a suit or a gown. Only people who care about history can come. Keanu Reeves looked at the card. He ran his thumb over the shiny gold edge. There was no name, no way to reply. Just a map and a time. He smiled. "Rowan," he called, walking into the cozy living room of their quiet house in the south of France. Rowan Atkinson looked up. He was working on a puzzle of an old Roman bridge. He blinked through his glasses and tilted his head like a curious little kid. "Oh no," he said. "What have you gotten us into now?" "Something fancy," Keanu said. The Musée d'Histoire Antique rose from the city of Paris like a magical palace. Big white columns stood tall. Golden lights made it shine. Red ropes lined the steps, and cameras flashed as rich guests arrived. The men wore sharp black suits. The women sparkled in shiny dresses. Laughter echoed like coins falling in a water fountain. A shiny Rolls-Royce car stopped at the door. Out stepped Keanu Reeves. He wore a black suit and a turtleneck. No tie, no sparkles. Just simple and neat. He fixed his sleeve, nodded at the doorman, and waited. Behind him, Rowan Atkinson struggled with his seatbelt. He got out of the car wearing a wrinkled suit and a bow tie that looked like it came from a funny movie. He looked up at the big building and whispered, "I feel like I wore the wrong thing, and the right thing to be awkward." They walked in together. Inside, the room felt cooler. Not because of the air, but because everyone got quiet. Conversations stopped. People stared. One woman across the room, Lisette Varnier, saw them. She wore red, not a sweet red, but a powerful red. She was known as the Queen of Auctions. For years, she had ruled the richest and finest auction rooms. She looked at Keanu's plain clothes, then at Rowan, who had just bumped into a statue and said, "Sorry" to it. She whispered to the man beside her, "They're letting in comedians now." People laughed quietly. Her voice was soft but sharp. Keanu heard her. He said nothing. He gently touched Rowan's back, guiding him to the check-in table. The man at the desk looked up, surprised. He scanned their cards. The screen blinked. Special clearance confirmed. "Welcome, Mr. Reeves. Welcome, Mr. Atkinson." They walked farther into the museum lights. Lisette's smile faded. The game had already started. She didn't know she just made fun of the two men who helped pay for the very floor she was standing on. Lisette Varnier leaned back in her velvet chair like she owned the room. She tapped her glass of fancy champagne without realizing it. She wasn't worried. She already decided how the night would end. She looked across the room again. Keanu and Rowan stood near a big column, quietly looking at everyone. Keanu stood calmly, hands behind his back. Rowan was trying to figure out which tiny fork was for scallops or snails. Lisette rolled her eyes. "See those two?" she said to the man next to her. His name was Jasper Favre. He was a rich ship owner who came to many auctions. "The tall one hasn't said a thing. The other one just dropped food on his sleeve. Jasper laughed. Which one is which? Lizette smirked. Does it matter? One looks like he's here to fix the pipes. The other one looks like he snuck in for the snacks. She sipped her drink and giggled at her own joke. Rowan wiped his sleeve with a napkin. A woman stared at him. He smiled and waved. She quickly turned away. Keanu said nothing. He was staring at a fancy statue of a Roman man named Hadrian. Around it were rare old things owned by kings and secret collectors. Nice collection, Keanu said. Rowan leaned closer. Feels like if I sneeze, we'll owe someone a whole country. A young man nearby, wearing a shiny Versace suit, looked at them with a mean face. He whispered, "These parties used to be fancy. Now it feels like a circus with clowns and bodyguards." Keanu turned to look at him. The young man got nervous and walked away. Lizette saw it happen. She smiled again. "Let them stare," she said. "They always leave before the big moment." "Who invited them?" Jasper asked. "Maybe the museum wanted some silly fun," she said, pretending to joke. But her eyes showed she felt challenged. Lizette had spent her life making sure people knew they didn't belong unless she said they did. She didn't think she was mean. She just thought she was being honest. Some people loved history. Some people just walked through it. She looked at Keanu again. He still hadn't spoken. Rowan had just sneezed and almost spilled his drink. Yes, she would win tonight. The last item was going to be super rare, a Roman treasure even older than Caesar. And when her name was written on the wall next to it, no one would remember the two odd men who didn't fit. What she didn't know was this: the person who helped bring that treasure back from a war-torn land was Keanu. He gave money quietly, without asking for fame. And Rowan was the brave, silly friend who went with him. Tonight, their quiet actions would speak louder than words. The lights dimmed. A golden glow filled the room. The auctioneer tapped his wooden hammer. The room went silent. Even glasses stopped clicking. "Ladies and gentlemen," the auctioneer said. He stood beneath a giant statue of the goddess Athena. "Thank you for your kindness tonight. But before we end, there is one last item." Lizette smiled. This was the moment she was waiting for. Every year, the museum showed a final secret item. No one knew what it would be. No pictures. No previews. It was something so rare it would never be sold again. The whole room leaned forward as he picked up a remote. "Please look at the big screen," he said. The lights became dim, and a video started playing. Soft music played in the background. The video showed old dusty places where archaeologists were brushing sand off something really old. Then, the video changed. It showed a shiny bronze treasure being stolen and sold in Turkey. But then police from around the world stopped the bad guys and saved the treasure. A secret team of kind people helped bring it back and fix it. Finally, the camera showed a statue. It was big, made of marble, and looked like a Roman boy emperor. His face looked calm and serious. He was stepping on a snake. The statue looked almost alive. His eyes had no pupils, but they still looked powerful. Next to the statue in the video, two shadowy people were standing. You couldn't see their faces, but the way they stood, you could tell they were important. The video ended. White words showed on the black screen. The last guardian of Imperium, 2nd century AD. Recovered. Restored. Returned. Thanks to two silent patrons. People in the room gasped. Celeste held her purse tighter. "The piece," the auction man said in a quiet, serious voice, "was almost lost in war. But it was saved by two men who didn't want their names shared, until tonight." A red curtain at the end of the hall rose up. Behind it stood the real statue. It sparkled under the lights and was kept safe in strong glass. Everyone in the room took a deep breath together. "It's real," said the auctioneer. He raised his voice. "Because of the statue's secret history, and because of how it was donated, only 2 people can bid on it tonight." Celeste sat up straight, ready to speak her price. The auctioneer looked at a shiny gold card and smiled. "The museum is honored to welcome Mr. Rowan Atkinson and Mr. Keanu Reeves." A silence hit the room like thunder. Celeste froze, her hand still in the air. Jasper, next to her, coughed on his drink. A young man wearing Versace whispered, "You're kidding me." Rowan blinked. "Wait, what did he say?" Keanu breathed out and said quietly, "He said it's ours to lose." Everyone looked at the 2 men. Before, they were known as funny or mysterious. Now, they were the only ones allowed to join the final bidding. No one, not even Celeste, could stop them. Celeste didn't move. For the first time in more than 10 years of rich person auctions, she felt something strange: doubt. The auctioneer's words still echoed through the tall museum room. "Mr. Rowan Atkinson and Mr. Keanu Reeves." Celeste blinked, waiting for someone to say it was a joke. But no one did. All eyes turned toward the 2 men. They stood up from their seats near the marble columns. Keanu walked calmly, like he was used to being alone. His face didn't show any emotion. Rowan fidgeted with his sleeve. He looked both confused and amused, like someone who got lost and ended up at someone else's wedding, then got asked to marry the bride. "They can't be serious," Celeste whispered angrily. She looked at Jasper. "This is just a prank, a trick. It has to be." But Jasper didn't laugh. Nobody did. The auctioneer pointed to a big screen that had just been set up. "Before the bidding starts," he said, "the museum wants to share how this statue was saved. Some of you may remember the Dra Cathedral bombing in Syria 12 years ago. Many important things from history were lost in one night. But one item was saved." The screen lit up again. This time, it showed shaky video from a body camera. It showed a rescue mission. Loud noises, people shouting in Arabic, dust flying, and things exploding. In the middle of all that, a person with a hood carried something wrapped up, the size of a child. He ran through the broken buildings, dodging bullets. He gave it to another man waiting by a black car. The driver looked back. Even through the smoke and mess, Celeste saw the man's jaw and recognized him. "Is that?" Someone gasped. "Yes," the auctioneer said. "That's Mr. Reeves." The crowd gasped again. The screen changed. It now showed Rowan standing in a broken church. He was holding a piece of the broken statue. He didn't say anything. He just smiled, with dirt on his face. "This rescue," said the auctioneer, "was planned, paid for, and done by only 2 men. No governments. No rich groups. Just 2 people who didn't want history to be lost." Celeste squeezed her chair tightly. "They were donors?" she asked softly. "No," Jasper replied. "They were the guardians." Keanu and Rowan stood at the front now, under the lights. Keanu nodded politely to the people. Rowan fixed his bow tie and leaned toward the microphone. "A little more serious than a statue of a duck, isn't it?" he said. The room laughed, but this time not at him. Celeste blushed, but not from embarrassment. She was realizing something. These men weren't just funny or cool. They had power. They had risked a lot. And tonight, she wasn't the most important person in the room. And the bidding hadn't even started yet. Quick question before we continue. Are you on Team Keanu or Team Mr. Bean? Let's see who's the favorite. Celeste held her glass of champagne tightly. People were whispering all around. She used to be the star at events like this. Now, she felt small. Jasper leaned toward her. "Did you know they helped with the Dara rescue?" Celeste barely moved her lips. No. No one knew. But that video, it was real. I know what I saw, Jasper whispered. Celeste blinked and looked up. Across the room, Keanu and Rowan were now standing at the front, beside the auctioneer. The room was quiet, like everyone was too scared to even breathe. Rowan cleared his throat into the microphone. Okay, full truth, he said. I thought we were just fixing up a really old garden statue. People laughed. Soft, kind laughter. But then Keanu called me, Rowan said, and he said something like, "We're saving a piece of humanity from fire." Rowan tilted his head. I figured he meant Syria, not actual fire and brimstone. He stepped forward. Let's begin the final bid. Starting at €2 million. Only the people on the special list can join. Rowan raised his hand. 2 million. Celeste sat up straighter. This couldn't be real. The numbers on the screen went higher. Rowan said, 3. Keanu leaned over and said quietly to him, "Let it rise. Make them sweat." The number moved to 4. Celeste couldn't sit still anymore. She stood up. "Excuse me," she called out loudly. Her voice was strong and clear in the quiet gallery. "With all respect, this is a public auction. I think others should be allowed to join too." The auction man looked at the people who organized the event. They talked quietly for a moment. Then someone nodded. "One exception may be made," the auction man said slowly, "if the other people already bidding say yes." Everyone turned to look at Keanu and Rowan. Keanu looked at Rowan. Rowan blinked, then smiled like he was pretending to be confused. "Oh, now we're allowed to play, are we?" People laughed, but this time it was louder and sharper. Rowan looked at the auction man. "I don't mind. The more, the merrier." Keanu gave a small nod. Celeste sat down. She felt a little better, but inside she was still angry. She lifted her paddle. 5 million. Rowan's eyes opened wide. She didn't even take it slow. 7, Keanu said calmly. Celeste sat up straighter. Her heart beat faster. This was her world. She had beaten rich princes and powerful bosses before. She was good at this. 10 million. The crowd gasped. Rowan turned to Keanu. "Should we be worried?" Keanu looked around the room, then looked right at Celeste. "No," he said. Then to the auction man, 12 million. Celeste opened her mouth to say more, but no words came out. She put down her paddle slowly. The auction man looked around. "Do we have 13? Nobody spoke. Then, crack. His gavel hit the podium. "Sold. To Mr. Reeves and Mr. Atkinson." Everyone clapped loudly. But for the first time in her life, Celeste Varnier did not clap. The clapping felt cold, like rain falling on her. She could feel it. No one was looking at her anymore. The auction man moved to the side. The glass around the statue went up slowly with a soft hiss. The lights shone on the statue. It was a marble statue of a young emperor. It looked amazing. Even Celeste had to admit that. But tonight, the light didn't belong to her. It belonged to them. Keanu and Rowan walked up together. The museum's director, an old man with kind eyes and a soft voice, stepped on stage. "It is our tradition," he said, "to thank the people who give us important treasures. Their names will be on a plaque forever in our Heritage Hall." He pulled off a red cloth. Under it was a shiny bronze plate. The name sparkled in the spotlight. "In honor of courage, preservation, and quiet legacy. Donors of the Imperium Youth Statue, 2nd century AD. Mr. Keanu Reeves, Mr. Rowan Atkinson." The room went quiet. This wasn't just clapping anymore. It was respect. The kind Celeste had tried to earn her whole life, but never really got. She stood still, too surprised to hide how she felt. The director kept speaking. These two men, one known for his quiet ways, the other for making us laugh, gave without asking for praise. They showed us that real legacy isn't about who shouts the loudest. It's about who helps when no one is watching. Keanu bowed his head. Rowan gave a small wave, like he wasn't sure if he should say thank you or sorry for being there. The crowd stood up. Everyone clapped. Celeste stayed in her seat. All around her, people were whispering. I didn't know Keanu helped save old art. Is it true Rowan paid to move the team after their site was bombed? Why didn't they ever say anything? Jasper leaned toward her and spoke softly. You made fun of them, Celeste, in front of the same people who now want to help their foundation. Celeste didn't say anything. She just stared at the statue. The boy emperor looked calm, like he had always been there, like he was judging her now. The crowd went to the reception room. A museum helper came to Keanu and Rowan with a nice guest book. Rowan took the pen. Do I just sign or write something? The helper smiled. Rowan thought for a moment. Then he wrote, History is full of kings and clowns. But sometimes, the difference is who keeps standing after the curtain falls. He gave the book to Keanu. Keanu just signed his name. They stepped off the stage. Rowan looked at the statue again. Do you think he knows? He asked. Keanu looked at the calm marble face. He does now, he said. Then they walked away. No big speech, no lights, just quiet winners. Celeste stood alone at the top of the gallery. Her champagne glass was still full. Downstairs, the party had begun. People were laughing, taking pictures, talking happily. Not about her. About them. She saw Keanu and Rowan smiling for pictures with curators and museum guests. The same people who used to listen to every word Celeste said were now crowding around them. She tried to smile, but it didn't feel real. A young reporter came up to her. Madame Varnier, what do you think about tonight? Celeste stood tall. Unexpected, she said sharply. But charity finds its way, I suppose. The reporter blinked, then walked away. She went straight to Rowan, who just made a whole table laugh by putting his drink on a sculpture stand by mistake. Celeste turned toward the stairs. As she walked down, she passed the new donor wall. It still smelled like new metal. Her own name was on it, down lower, next to a vase she had bought years ago. It used to be the best thing in the museum. Now, above her name, two others shined. Keanu Reeves. Rowan Atkinson. A quiet voice behind her spoke. You didn't lose the auction, Celeste. You just didn't understand what it was really about. She turned. Keanu was standing there. His hands were in his coat pockets. His eyes were kind, but strong. You could have embarrassed me, she said. I didn't need to, Keanu answered. History remembers longer than applause. Then he walked past her, down the stairs. Rowan was at the bottom, waving at someone through the museum doors. No big moment. No music. Just a quiet win. Celeste looked at the plaque again. She had spent her whole life trying to be remembered. They had made sure something greater was remembered instead. Tonight, everyone remembered the statue. But not her. The museum halls were full of quiet voices and footsteps. Waiters carried food and fancy drinks. But the real excitement was in the talking. And every conversation started with one or two names. Did you hear Keanu helped during the Aleppo rescue? Rowan paid to move the art team after the bombing. They've been saving old things for years without saying a word. In just one night, everything changed. People didn't just see them as actors anymore. They were heroes in a new story. Rowan stood at a table, stacking little snacks into a tower. "I'm not sure I should get this much attention," he whispered to Keanu. "I didn't really do much." Keanu took a sip. Sometimes just being there is enough. A museum worker ran up to them, smiling big. "Would you help with our next exhibit? It's old and really fragile." Rowan raised an eyebrow. "Do I get hazard pay? Maybe some smoke bombs?" She laughed. "Only paperwork this time." The night kept buzzing. Celeste's name, once said with awe, was now spoken quietly, carefully. People looked around before saying it. But she was already gone. No hugs, no photos. Just silence. 2 weeks later, the museum showed off its newest treasure. Families and tourists stood in front of the statue. Everyone loved it. But what really caught people's eyes was the plaque. People stopped to read it out loud. Kids whispered the names. "In honor of echoes, not applause. Courage. Preservation. Quiet legacy. Donors of the Imperium Youth Statue. Mr. Rowan Atkinson." Under it was a quote. "Some protect empires with armies. Others protect them by not walking away." Far down the hall, Celeste came back. Quietly. No one saw her. She wore black. No makeup. No fancy group. Just a notebook and a pen she didn't use. She stood in front of the plaque for a long time. She didn't take pictures. She didn't pretend to care. A museum guide walked by with school kids. One of the kids asked, "Wait, Mr. Bean did this?" The guide laughed. "Yes. But I think he likes to be called Rowan when he's saving statues." The kids giggled and walked on. Celeste stayed. She read the names again and again. Then, in a soft, quiet moment, she understood something. Legacy isn't about being seen. It's about what stays behind when the lights go out. She turned. She walked away. Her shoes made soft tapping sounds on the marble floor. No one clapped. No one looked. But this time, she understood why. Sometimes, the people we ignore are the ones who change the world. They don't need fame or cheers. They act when others don't. Fame can be bought. But legacy? Legacy is written in quiet acts of kindness and strength. If you liked this story, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment below and let me know what you think. And don't forget to subscribe for more thrilling adventures, mysteries, and unforgettable moments. Your support keeps these stories alive and the creativity flowing. Thanks for watching. I can't wait to see you in the next video.